All right, hey, I got something to say, people. Where there's a will, there's a way. I tell you, ladies, this all the time. Sometimes things don't work out. That's okay. You got to figure out another way. And I so much wanted Angie Hyche on that I said, we'll just do it on Zoom and record it, and then we'll put it up on, hey, I got something to say. So before I bring her on here, let me tell you a little bit about Angie. Angie is an author, speaker, podcaster, and certified, yes, you've been waiting for this, professional organizer. Oh God, I hope she can't see my desk. Anywho, her years of experience with clients gives her unique insights into the challenges, not that we have any, of disorganization and the peace that order can bring. She loves helping people simplify their lives so they can spend time doing what they love. Angie, aren't you a gift to the world? How are you?
You. I'm doing great. How are you? Sorry we had so much tech trouble. Thanks for being patient.
Oh my goodness, it's okay. It's okay. It happens. And every time it does, I think it is a lesson. Like you got to put yourself out there. And things when they don't work out, you actually give people permission to try more things. So
Yeah.
other women are like, wait a minute. All right, I'm gonna try that. I'm not gonna wait till it's foolproof. All right, so let's get into it because it's the season. I can tell you so many of my friends are saying to me, the number one question that they wanted to, it was funny. They say they declutter, but then they clutter more. So they get rid of everything basically to cleanse, but then the next thing they know, they're filling it up, especially around this time. So the big question is, how can they stop purchasing things before they absolutely need them? That's I kept getting asked over and over. I just feel like I buy new, shiny. I need that new, shiny. And I don't know if this is your typical client, but I heard it over and over again, Angie.
Yes. Yes, it is a constant process. And the tip that I give, and when we're talking about physical clutter now,
Yeah.
but before we even go any further, I think it's important that everybody's on the same page as far as clutter, because most people just think piles of stuff, and absolutely piles of stuff are definitely a form of clutter, but clutter is much more broad than that. It is really anything that distracts us from our priorities.
Ooh.
It can be stuff in our homes. It can be events on our calendar, tasks on our to-do list. It can be the kind I suffer with, clutter in our minds. All of these things keep us from spending time on what's most important. So when it comes to the physical clutter, the tip that I give the most, this is something that every single person can incorporate into their schedule. It takes almost no time and it makes a huge difference. And I call it daily decluttering. And so all you need, I'm going to show you what I use.
Hmm.
You need one container, box, bag, whatever. Put it in a really easily accessible place in your home or office. Every
Okay.
time anyone in your home sees something that you don't love it and use it. Those are two easy questions to ask. Do I love it? Do I use it? You have to be able
Okay.
to say yes to both of those questions. Otherwise, it's probably clutter. So every time you see anything you don't love and use, stick it in that container. When the container fills up, go donate it and do it over and over and over again. So
Okay.
what happens a lot of times, we say, oh, I gotta do some decluttering. I need to take like a whole Saturday and go through my whole closet. And that's great. And I love that whole thing. But we tend to, Saturday comes and goes and we don't have time to do it. But this is something you can incorporate to everyday schedule. And also, we talked about, getting things in. We're constantly reaccumulating, right?
Yeah.
So right
Yeah.
now, in my container that I just showed you, right now there are 3 articles of clothing because I've bought a few things in the last few days. So I have my husband and I are in a very small loft. We downsized, got rid of 75% of our stuff. It was amazing.
Oh. Oh.
We have a strict one in, one out policy. So if I'm out there and I see something I like, I have to know that it's better than something else I have currently. If it's not, I'm not going to bring it in. Because if I bring it in, I know something's got to go.
Oh, I like that. I
Yeah.
like that. All
And
right,
if
but
you've
see,
got a lot of clutter, you honestly ought to be 1 in, 2 out, or 3 out, or whatever. I mean,
yeah,
people
yeah.
are drowning in our stuff as a nation.
Well, here's the thing. I actually do, for me, it's like this big bag that I put donations in. So I do have that up in the guest room and I keep putting stuff in. And I do want to get back to the mind clutter because there's a lot to that.
Oh, it's
But
huge.
here's the fly in the ointment. And I don't know if I'm the only one. I'm not a saver. I'm not. If I'm not using it, I get rid of memories. Okay, I got a picture. Clothes. I'm going to wear the same things on the top of the thing. So, all right, let's just keep. But what if you have, we love him dearly, a husband who saves a paperclip from second grade, saves everything, has shirts he's worn since second grade. I mean, his closet is way bigger than mine. I mean, mail. And I have to, I hope he's not going to watch this when he's at work, get rid of things that I think he won't even notice. And he probably won't. And if I clean the third floor closet within 6 months, it would be filled with stuff. What to do?
Okay.
Slight of, getting rid of the husband because we do love him.
Yeah. So this is probably the number one question I get asked.
Really?
Yes. What do I do about so-and-so's clutter? My roommate, my wife, my husband, whatever. And I'll just give you my top level things. Number one, you cannot make someone do something they don't want to do.
You
Uh,
sure?
we sure have figured that one out. I mean, my husband and I've been married 36 years. Yeah. Um, but here's what I will say. First of all, you must deal with all of your own clutter first. Most people that are talking about someone else's clutter, they still have clutter issues of their own.
Oh,
So
okay. Okay.
with your own clutter. Secondly, I mean, it's going to take kind of talking through like, okay, so whatever this closet, if you have a better use for that closet than it being cluttered with stuff, come to an agreement about, this closet is a good place for X. And that's what we're going to
Okay.
the use of it. Another thing that is helpful, and I mean, there's got to be some negotiation in there. I find it really helpful to use something I call the container concept. I got that term from Dana K. White. She has a website and podcast called A Slob Comes Clean. She's great.
I love it.
Yeah, she's really very
Oh my God.
tells it like it is. So containers hold things, but they also limit. So if I'm going to have a container of clothes, only what fits in that container is what I'm
Yeah.
going to have. So
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
is helpful concept is to say, okay, there are some sentimental things that I want to keep, but I don't want them to take up this whole closet. So what if I said, I'm going to limit the amount of sentimental stuff to what fits in these two bins or this shelf or this cabinet or whatever. Then what that means is that you have to make some tough decisions.
Mm.
Make the space the enemy, not you. So, okay, you want to put some of your stuff in this closet? Okay, I get it. Well, okay, these two shelves or this side or whatever.
Yeah.
That is the amount of space we're going to allocate for this category. You can use this container concept in any room of the house. I mean, basically your whole house is a container, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We over clutter those containers and end up with storage units, and I could go on and on about that.
Yeah.
Also look at it in terms of time. Our 24 hours in a day, 7 days a week is a container. And when we fill it too full, we reap the consequences. So those are my top level tips for that situation, which is extremely common.
Yeah. Yeah, because not whoever, usually when you're both on the same page, that's awesome.
It's a
You know?
blessing. And thankfully, my husband and I are, but we are probably the minority.
Yeah, yeah. But I like the way you said first, make sure you've done all the decluttering first you can, because you can't say nah, 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 when you're like, well, what about this? Right? Okay, great point. Okay, so now let's jump back because you had mentioned it a little bit and talk about first the clutter on your calendar.
Okay.
And I understand what you mean because when you feel overwhelmed and you look at your calendar and there's all these things to do, sometimes you just shut down
Oh,
and you
yeah.
can't be as productive. And I know this, you definitely aren't going to have as much fun and enjoy what you're doing in
Absolutely.
that mode. So what do you do?
Yeah. So when we feel overwhelmed by the physical clutter, the schedule clutter, the attention clutter, we just shut down. It leads to paralysis. So uh, my what I like to talk about in terms of schedule clutter, you have to be ruthless with all of this clutter. For schedule clutter, you have to determine, look at your calendar with a microscope or I mean magnifying glass, fine tooth comb, whatever you call it. Do the things on your calendar and on your to-do list, do they align with your priorities? And do they help you move forward to your goals? And if they don't, then they're clutter. Now, some things we have to do, and it's not something exciting, it's not something fun, and we have to do them. But there are many, many, many things are optional. We tend to stay, like, for instance, we're a volunteer group or a committee we're on or whatever. We're on it forever and ever and ever because we feel guilty. We can't get off that because then the committee's going to fold, whatever.
Yeah.
So, guilt is not a good enough motivator. It's got to align with your priorities and move you toward your goals. The holidays are particularly rampant for schedule clutter.
Yeah.
And yeah, because we've got our normal stuff and then boom, we get this influx of things for the holidays. So here's what I say about the holidays,
Okay.
the time you've got left. Uh, Talk to everyone in the home and ask them this question. Ask them to fill in this blank. Boy, it wouldn't feel like Christmas if we didn't get to blank. That's going to help you know what are the things about the holidays they really get excited about. You may be surprised. Some of the things you've been doing every year, year in, year out, maybe they don't even like it. So why are we doing that? And so find out the answer to that, then work those into your schedule, and then goodness, let some stuff go. Just because you have always, made homemade cookies, gone to the cantata, caroled, gone around schedule looking for lights. I mean, there's so many things. Leave some white space because some of the best Christmas holiday memories are when you're just like sitting around drinking hot chocolate, watching Christmas movies, or just
Yeah.
sitting by a fire, so find out what are the most important things and try to let some of those other things go.
I was just talking about that before we went on air, that I don't, I know a lot of people have this, what they call it, FOMO, fear of missing out.
Yes, yes.
And I have friends that are like that. And I tell them, I really want to go because I really want to go and I really want to enjoy it. So I may not go to as many things as they go to, even though I'm an extrovert. I love people and I love parties, but I want to feel that I don't have to go.
Mm-hmm.
But they said to me to ask Angie, because that's a big part of it. How do
Okay.
you do that with your schedule when they're battling with fear of missing out?
Well, it's just when you get to a certain level of busyness, you just can't, and like you were saying, you can't enjoy the things you do participate in. And if you really take the time to say, okay, well, so when was, think of sometimes when were we most relaxed? What was our best holiday and why? What do we really like? Another way that you can frame FOMO is JOMO, joy of missing out. Uh, because if we're exhausted, we're just not enjoying that. It just gets to be
Yeah.
too much. We have too much stuff. We have too much on our calendar. We have too much in our minds. So we're living in this constant, like, frenetic pace that we can't keep it up and we can't enjoy ourselves. And we're not
I
fun to be
agree.
around when we're like that.
No,
So
no.
all of these things, I don't deal with the physical clutter so much, basically because of what I do and because I just don't roll that way. But I can tell you from my own experience, the schedule clutter and the attention clutter, I've got some real issues with. And so I'm coming out of some of those, and I'm telling you, I am so much better off the more
Mm,
I let go. There is so much freedom in letting go and peace.
yeah. Yeah. I can tell you that last night I had an opportunity to go to another holiday party with a friend, but instead I stayed home and made cookies with my son who's home from college.
Mhm. Oh, that sounds wonderful. And I bet you wouldn't trade that
I,
for
I
anybody.
mean, I'm not a great baker. It got all kinds of ugly, but we laughed and laughed and laughed. Like, Mom, weren't there supposed to be eggs in that batter? Like, I, even though I heard, oh, you missed a great party, I was like, I am so good. I'm so happy that I did.
Because that you guys made memories
Oh my God.
that yeah, that is just gold right there. There's always going to be the holiday parties. You're not always going to have a son who's
He
able to,
wants to make cookies with me, like 20 years
yeah.
old, right?
I mean, you're going to get uncool again, go through those things with your kids where
Yeah,
they do or don't want to spend time with you. So
absolutely.
you've got to be ruthless.
Gotta be ruthless. I mean, you know what though? So many women in the last few years, I was telling them I have big posters around my house that says, just say no, just say no.
Yes.
Before I go out the door, you could say no, you could say no. So when you say to someone, hey, I'm sorry I missed your party, but I want to spend time with my family. I want to enjoy this. Almost everybody says, good for you. They're not mad or pissed that you didn't show. They're like, no one's going to be, well, they are, wrong friend, but no one's going to be mad when you say, I really just need downtime with my family, right?
Yep. For the most part, yes.
Yeah. And if they are, mm. All right, let's talk about mind clutter.
Oh, let's do because
This is the big one. That's why I saved it for the end.
this is big. Yes.
Not
So
that I haven't, you know.
yeah, we all have it. So as far as the mental clutter, the thing that I want to, well, I can't forget to mention this. My biggest source of mental clutter, and I think most of us, it's related to this right here. Digital clutter. I had some major phone addiction.
Oh,
Uh,
I
you
don't
know,
know anyone like that.
yeah. I mean, the statistics are mind-numbing. Yeah,
Mind blow. Talk about fear of missing out. It's like, oh my God. Oh my
yeah.
God.
Average American touches their unlocks their phone 2,617 times a day. I mean, it's crazy.
How many? Whoa, whoa, whoa. How many?
2,617. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay. Okie dokie.
yeah. So, I mean, I am not. I hate to have to admit that my family begged me for years to get off my phone.
Oh.
And I would try some half-hearted things, and it took being really, really drastic about it to make a difference.
What were
And
you doing on your phone, Angie? Can I ask?
mostly I was on Facebook. Um, Now social media is not wrong. I'm still on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm on uh, LinkedIn. It is not wrong. But for me, I was spending way too much time on it.
Yeah, yeah, I understand that.
It over my relationships with my family. I did some real damage. I wish I
Mm,
could take it back. Also, my email, that's a big one. I mean, texting, again, none of these are wrong, but when you think about when you compare the amount of time you're spending on it versus the
yeah.
amount of time you're having with people, when you're with people and then you cut over to do something on your phone, Whether you realize it or not, you are communicating that this is more important than them. The greatest gift you can give someone is your full attention.
I agree. I agree.
Yes.
I mean, it really bothers me, I have to admit, when I go out to dinner with someone and they're on their phone. Now, that's different if they have a babysitter for their young kids and they got to keep the
Yes.
phone up there. I mean,
I-
I get that. I'm sorry, I got to look at this.
Yeah. But the majority of time, it's
Yeah.
just junk.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's one. And you can find out how many times you're looking at your phone. You can find out how much time you're spending on each device. I mean, you can set limits. You can turn off all the sounds and
Mm.
the banners, the little numbers that come beside each icon. You can turn all that off. I stopped charging my phone beside my bed. That was big. I know.
Ooh.
I guarantee you at least one person is saying, oh, but what if it's an emergency? Okay. They're going to keep calling or texting. They will. Most of the time, we're just, again, it's mindless. Most of the time, it's mindless scrolling.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but I'm going to tell you another big source of attention clutter that is probably not something that most people have thought about, and it can really, really make a difference. So, our brains are amazing machines, but they are made primarily to think of ideas, not to store them. But many times we treat our brain like a storage unit. Because what we do is we try to just hang on to things like, oh, okay, tomorrow I got to run by there. And on the way home, I got to do this. And I need to email so-and-so, I need to text so-and-so, and I got that project. And it's just
Yeah. Yeah.
swirling around in our head all the time. And there's a great book by David Allen called Getting Things Done. It was originally written in the 80s. It's been updated a bunch of times. David Allen calls those things that are not in the state that you want them to be, he calls them open loops. And his advice is to get the open loops into trusted systems. Okay, so what that means is I've got to figure out any of the things that I can take out of here to free up my brain and put them in a form so that I don't have to keep worrying about them. So trusted systems can be a piece of paper. It can be reminders on my phone. I don't want to be on my phone too much, but I do like it to remind me that it's time to take my medicine, or that it's time to go to my meeting, or that when I get home, I need to, So my best trusted systems, Google Calendar, Google Task, reminders. I do use some paper sometimes. There's lots of different ones that you can use, but when you get them out of your head and okay, I don't have to think about that anymore because I know that at, 7 o'clock, I'm going to get a reminder. I use Alexa for that. I use all kinds of different things.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, and this is another area where you see the different kinds of clutter kind of relate to each other, because when our schedule is crazy, our minds are cluttered too. So it all kind of bleeds into each other. But anything that you can get out of your head into a format that you don't have to keep worrying about it frees up a lot of mental clutter.
I I was telling my son, he's like, Mom, you very rarely forget stuff. I go, yeah, because I don't rely on me. It's written. I mean, people's birthdays. It's in my calendar. It's not like, oh, you remember my birthday. It pops up
Right.
every year. Everything, I schedule every little thing so I don't have to think about it.
Yes.
Or, oh crap. Now, I'm not saying I don't forget things,
Yeah.
but it's rare because for me, I put it on my calendar, it's in there, and then I don't have to think about it. It's done.
Yeah, good.
I
So
don't have to
you've already
rely on my memory. I don't have to rely on my memory.
yeah. So you've got some really good systems set up. That's awesome. You'd be
But they're not
surprised at how many
foolproof.
people have. Yeah. And the thing is, like, okay, well, what's the best tool? What's the best app? What's the best this? It's really more important to be consistent on using a
Yep.
tool than it is to pick the right one, because you could drive yourself crazy. Go, oh, I've heard this is good, so let me switch to this. Oh, well, let me do, so use some things, see if they work. If they don't, try something else, but you've got to stay on top of it. And if this is something, if you're listening to or watching this and you're like, oh my gosh, this is so me, there's so much, I don't even know where to start. Here's where you start. Sit with paper and pencil, not a laptop, not even though I'm a big digital girl, but you need to start with a brain dump. You need like 15, 20 minutes of time, paper and pen or pencil, just write down all the things that you're trying to hold in your head. Get them out, get them out, get them out, get them out. Then take that list. Don't worry about making it pretty or putting it in order. Just dump it, dump it, dump,
Yeah,
dump, dump.
yeah.
Then figure out, okay, so where's this going to go? Is this best on my calendar? Is this best as, a paper list? A lot of people like Post-its, and they have Post-its like everywhere. Post-its everywhere.
Yeah.
There is a system you can use Post-its in, but
I
just
know.
everywhere with no order, that doesn't work. But start with a brain dump, then figure out, I got to get these brain dump things. Where am I going to put those? What are my trusted systems? And every time things come up, get it somewhere. It comes up in your head, put it somewhere. So that's a big source of attention clutter.
Yeah, I like that. I was thinking of one of the people that wrote in for some questions for you was about their belief system. And we've covered this in some of the areas, but it's hard for them, we'll call her Sally Bell, she said, to get out of the belief that she has to do all that. Like it's so ingrained in her
Yeah.
that, to be productive, you have to do this, this, and this. To be a great mom, business owner, you have to do all these things. And she doesn't know how to break the cycle. And when she started looking at it, I mean, this is a long thing, but you can reach out to Angie later. It's more about she really believes that's what adds value to who she is in the world.
Mm.
And if she's not doing all that, you know, who is she? And I get that. And that is like sometimes your beliefs are so ingrained that it's hard to break out of, well, for years I've always volunteered for all this, gone to all these parties, been that person, hosted, that. But now, I mean, my friend just called me last night. She's like, I'm 54. I don't do it anymore. But
Mhm.
she doesn't know how to stop.
Yeah. Well, and I like to stay active. I love to volunteer and a lot of stuff, but when it gets too much, it, it's really you're damaging your own health,
Yeah.
physical, mental health. And honestly, you've probably heard this saying before, when you say yes to one thing, you're saying no to something else. And it's kind of a trite saying, but it's really true. And
It is true.
so many times the thing that we're saying no to, now we're not consciously saying no, but by filling up our schedule and our to-do list with all this other stuff, we're saying no to the things that are the most important, the things
Yeah.
that we say is most important, but do we live that way? You
Yeah.
know, I
Yeah.
I lived for many years. I've been a Christian most of my life, but for many years you couldn't look at my schedule or what thoughts I had and even know I was a believer. I mean, yeah, you really have to examine, well, what are my priorities? What are my,
Yeah.
do these
Yeah.
things align with it or do they not? And, really when it comes down to it, the only thing that matters is what God thinks of me, not what
Yeah.
everybody else thinks of me and who I am in Him. And but it's a really hard one. I can
Well,
tell
it's something you're going to remind yourself every single day. It's not like, okay, I'm not going to care. I'm not going to do what other
you,
people want me to do and expect of me. The only thing that's important
you
is me.
can't make yourself not care. I mean, but you can say, is this serving me well?
Yeah. Yeah.
Am I still able to devote the time that I want to God and to my family? Or are these things crowding that out?
Yeah.
I love to be productive too. That's the thing that now that I'm not quite so tied to my phone, it's my to-do list that is the most distracting to me. So I can be out doing something and I'm trying to be Bob Goff, Christian author. I don't know if you know him. He's fantastic. He has a saying that I just read in his book called Distracted. Great book, great Bible. But he says, be where your feet are.
Ooh, I like that saying.
I love it because how many times am I in a room with my husband, with my, small group at church or whatever, but where's my mind? It is not there.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
on my to-do list. It's on my presentation I'm developing. It's on whatever.
Yeah.
And again, the greatest gift you can give someone is your full attention. And I'm not
I
giving,
agree.
yeah.
Well, Angie, I really appreciate you being on the show, and I'm so glad we figured it out. My hey, I got something to say. People are really going to appreciate it. And
Yeah, and people that wanted to like ask a question live and it didn't work out live, yeah, feel free to reach out to me, Angie at shipshape.solutions. I geek out over all this kind of stuff. I love talking about it. So
I can tell. I was going to just say, how can they reach you? Because once it goes up, first of all, I didn't get in all the questions. There's just no way you can get them all in. But also, you're going to have more that come in once it goes up. So again, tell us how they can find you and reach you.
yeah, you can email me, Angie at shipshape.solutions. My website is shipshape.solutions. I have a podcast about being uncluttered. It's called
Ah,
Uncluttered, Shaping Your Heart and Home for What Matters Most.
ooh, I love that, Angie. I love that.
So, the book of the same title with my friend and podcast co-host will publish in June of
Oh,
2024.
good
And
for
then the book called Unholy Mess, What the Bible Says About Clutter. That published in December 2020. It's on as an ebook and paperback, and just yesterday became available as an audiobook on Amazon.
Yay!
So yeah, that's how you can.
You got a lot going on, but it's all good stuff.
And I love to speak, so I travel to speak. I love talking about clutter, about time management, about all the things that distract us, and how to get rid of them so we can live the life we want to live.
I'm so happy, Angie. I'm so happy. All right, my hey, I got something to say. You know what I'm going to say. Until next time, bye, Angie, and toodles.